All right, so hey, welcome back into our live stream today. We're going to dive into Animoca Brands and really the evolution of what this particular concept and investment house is going to be doing in the crypto space, which is pretty massive, and we'll talk about some other things as well. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Tech Path. All right, joining me today, of course, this is going to be Animoca Brands. They're going to be, of course, front and center, and we're going to talk about a slew of projects. Here's what we've done to kind of break this out, and then I want to talk about Bitcoin real quick. But the point is that we've pulled together an array of most of their projects. There's about 60 projects overall that they've got going in a variety of different spaces, and we've kind of not necessarily qualified them or put them into certain buckets, but what I've done is I've pulled in several, and this is going to be a multi-part series on Animoca Brands, mostly on the, some of the different categories, but I put this particular bucket in one group. There's no rhyme or reason as to why they were in. Some are gaming, most of which are involved in the metaverse, but at least we can kind of do some cross comparison in terms of sentiment and amplification on some of these projects. So we're going to dive into that. Let's jump to the chart though today. Bitcoin, as we are going live, is crashing right now to the floor, it feels like, at 53. Could we see the 52 mark hit? It's possible with this kind of moving in. Option expirations, I'm wondering what we've got going on here. I think this is going to be something that people are going to be talking about all weekend. Let's take a look at the 7-day, if you can kind of see where things are falling right there. Bitcoin, of course, had hit the 7-day high right there at 58, almost 59,000, which was a good sign on the first, and then we started to see a lot of sideways action, and then this plow down, which is below the resistance point that it had been hitting around the 53.6 mark. So this is going to be one to watch. I want to just zoom in on this a little bit for you guys to understand where this is going. And hit me in the comments on whether or not you guys think this is going to continue. Are you seeing any kind of indicators out there that are flying for you? We probably need to do a real-time sentiment analysis on this over the weekend to take a look at what happened, where this is going, and where is Bitcoin going to be trending in the month of December. Remember, a lot of people, including ourselves, we're looking at a little bit of a correction, possibly the biggest correction yet, before we see another run. And this next run is kind of the one that everybody's kind of been pointing to, which is mid to late December, where we could see the top off of this particular bull run. A lot of people talking like that, but yet you have a lot of them like Benjamin Cowan, people like that on YouTube that are really moving the 8-ball toward a much longer term cycle. I'm really interested in this as to the way it's going to play out. I'm kind of in between the two, in the sense that I feel like the cycle has been elongated, but not necessarily in the sense that we are going to see no potential downturn in this. So be on the watch out for this. I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on where that's going. Let's get back over to Animoca Brands, because this is a sector of the space that I think is going to be, I won't say bulletproof, because we will see some highs and lows of a lot of these projects and many projects in the gaming sector, in the metaverse sector, and even in DeFi to a certain extent. You're going to see absolutely disappear or literally hit the bottom in the bear market. That is going to provide two things. One, it's going to provide awareness around which projects are the ones to really kind of put focus on, because it's going to isolate some projects as being the leaders in their particular category. And the other thing, it's also going to present some opportunities for grabbing back in. And I think that is the bigger opportunity here. So watching these in the bear market and really seeing this move and evolve is going to be a very key thing to do. And part of that is understanding these portfolios. When you look at what Binance and Animoca Brands have done, they've launched a $200 million investment program specifically for blockchain games. Now, I know 200 million doesn't sound like a lot. You think about it, it's almost $250 million. And if you look at what they're trying to do, which is really focused around the whole crypto gaming aspect, and the goal was really to increase mainstream adoption of blockchain tech significantly. That's kind of the focus. I think they would need to drop in more likely $500 million into this. And with the advantage of what Animoca can do in terms of game startups and metaverse startups, and what Binance can do in terms of just BSC with Binance Smart Chain and the ability to bring projects on fast and onboarding. That I think is a match made in heaven. And if you look at kind of how they're really kind of focusing on, it's a pretty cool program. So it's going to will support GameFi, decentralized game finance, blockchain gains such as cryptocurrency or non-NFTs, taken off obviously this year. And the boom obviously has helped Animoca Brands raise multiple rounds. Look at this, 65 million round at $2.2 billion valuation. So a pretty big push. Gaming helps reach more mainstream users, and this has seen the boom during the pandemic, but traditional game companies have been very slow to adopt blockchain. But here's the thing that I think a lot of people look at when you think about gaming in general and just the metaverse. Remember, most of technology has evolved into Web 2.0 gaming, meaning most of the social media space. We've seen obviously esports, as well as these massive gaming houses, including the rise of the biggest OS development platforms, including Microsoft with what Xbox has done. So gaming hasn't necessarily eaten the internet in Web 2.0, but Web 3.0 and blockchain, I feel like it will achieve critical mass beyond anything we've seen before. Imagine we think that gaming is big right now in the trillions of dollars in terms of market opportunity and addressable market. When you get into next generation countries, third world, we get into the opportunity of play to earn and play and earn. Those kinds of approaches, I think, are really going to reshift how the landscape looks. And Animoca is going to be right there at the forefront of this. So big news, I think, in that approach. And you can kind of see what they said right here. Gaming is one of the strong pillars of Web 2.0, reaching billions of users. This was Gwendolyn Regina, who is the investment director over at BSC, the Accelerator Fund. It's a large-scale, real-life use case, makes it one of the core focuses around crypto and mass adoption, onboarding retail customers into Web 3.0. And I think that is the statement. Binance understands the ability to really tilt the game board into mass adoption is the key component right now. And there's a couple of things that are happening with how this is moving into that space, and that is the fact that Binance and Animoca, among many others, are starting to understand where and what to watch for in these downturns. And I think that's when you start pouring money in. Remember, when the market is going down, that's when smart people are putting money in. So think about it that way. Let's talk about a couple of the projects we will be reviewing today. Alien Worlds, Metaverse teams up with Wax, blockchain enabling artists to give free NFTs to metagamers. That's another one we'll break down today a little bit. We'll get into the sentiment and the amplification on this one. Bondly is another one that is kind of interesting. They jumped in with tryhards and to form basically a Metaverse alliance. And if you look at what they were talking about, because Bondly is one of these, one of a kind, it's kind of a cutting edge, well, here it says right here, cutting edge modern day NFT innovations. Its goal is to bring NFT producers and followers closer. So they're allowing the creators to essentially build their NFTs in a much more, slick fashion. And of course, partnering up with the game companies is going to be a key factor. So anybody that's kind of bridging that gap between the creators and the game companies that's going to be huge. And that's what Bondly does. But don't forget, Bondly did have this summer, they had an exploit for over, for millions of dollars in a potential rug pull. So anytime that you're looking at any of these projects, I want you guys to all be aware of these are risky. Games, especially games in essence, and really if you kind of look at where altcoins were just 2 years ago, those were in the same way, very risky before we started seeing the layer ones and some of the emerging altcoin projects really kind of break out. Very risky. We do these market movers, and the concept behind these are real simple. We'll put together this data. We'll give you some insights on this, kind of point to what we're looking at, and then hopefully you guys are making your own decisions, getting out on your own in terms of your own research. Not investment advice, but it does jump into hopefully giving you a direction in the right way. Let's jump down on into the projects that I wanted to look at. And this is, of course, a project called Theta and Arena. It's a game. And let's go back here to the all-time so you can kind of see how this one has performed. A nice rise, and it has softened a little bit. It was a great opportunity for many who were trying to buy it. And then, of course, it had this nice little sideways movement. This one right here, fully diluted market cap running right there. You can kind of see 446 million. $6 billion market cap. So not a small game at all. This is a Animoca brand product, or I should say investment. D-Race is another one. This one is one we've been watching for quite some time. And if you look at the highs and the lows of D-Race, this one continuously is building on itself. And what I mean by that is if it had this nice pump, you get this drop, another nice pump, you get this drop, and now you've got higher lows starting to play into the game. Again, all just moving up, and the same kind of scenario right here. So D-Race is actually kind of poised for a potential, another potential breakout right here. And I think the key here will be if D-Race can start to release more of their roadmap and actually get gambling going in the racing app and NFT format. If you haven't checked D-Race out, check out their project. It's a pretty cool one. Alien Worlds is another one that is rated highly in the list. As we look into that one, I want to kind of take a look at this one because it's one that is, let's go to the 1 year Alien Worlds. Yeah, this is the one that fell off, actually. Let's talk about that one. For some reason, I was thinking this one was the one that had popped. Anyway, we'll look at that one a little closer. Bondly, this is the one I was talking about a little bit earlier. Let's go in and take a look at this project. This is the one that really fell off, and now we're starting to see a little bit of movement right here. But you can kind of see what its potential is over here when it was trading at, gosh, almost 70, looks like 79 cents right there on its top for where it's going. Last one is High Street. There's actually two more. High Street, this one is trading at 24.69. Let's take a look at the 1 year. And you can kind of see this one also an interesting one. This one was the one that was involved here recently with some NFT drops. We are seeing, again, a lot of these game projects like this, as you're going through the Animoca Brands roster, the list, what I have been trying to do is really, because this is the issue that is facing a lot of these gaming companies, is being able to break above the fray in terms of just topics and news. Many of them are releasing news out there when you look back at what Bondly is talking about, Alien Worlds, and what they've been able to do in their partnership, and then all of this movement into the game space with Animoca as a whole. I think all of this is pointing in the right direction. And the last one I wanted to go at was Flow. This is one that actually is not doing well, and I wanted to show you because this is kind of the scenario of some of these projects that we will see, and that is as you start looking at any of these kinds of projects, you're going to have some losers. We've talked about this in our high-risk portfolio topic, which we've done before. We are going to bring back a variety of episodes here focused on Animoca, so don't get discouraged if we didn't cover one of the projects in here for you guys. I want to jump over to the sentiment. Actually, I want to jump over and show you just the goal, or just the overall size and scope of this portfolio. So you can kind of see the blockchain right there on, we're on blockchain, the game section. So you can kind of see what's happening there. A lot of the bigger investments, Axie, Sandbox, all those guys. But you've got, Sandbox obviously is a metaverse, but you've got MLB Champions coming in here, Crypto Prophecies, My DeFi Pet, Alien Worlds right there, Epic, Sky Mavis, obviously with Sandbox, or with Axie and then Sandbox. Dapper Labs, another big one in terms of developing on that. And then as we zoom out, I want to take a look at the other side of this, and that is the infrastructure side. And you see a lot of those. That's where Immutable X comes into play. Flow, which is the one I'm going to talk about here in a second. Helix, Kudos, Polygon, of course, we already know the component there. And then DeFi, same kind of scenario. Very big in this in terms of just where they're going. Here's Superfarm falling into the DeFi category more as a more of a launcher. And then, of course, last up is marketplaces. And this is the one I'm really interested in because I think this is one that they have not necessarily exploded on just yet. We may see some more potential opportunities right there. But you can kind of see this is a huge, they've got a little bit of action in art. There's the Metaverse component. Let's see all the areas in there. You've got Upland in there, Wilder World, which we've known about, Xverse, Sandbox, Open Metaverse, Decentraland, and then SI1 Country. So interesting stuff. I'm curious with you guys which ones you feel or you want to get a little deeper on, because we're going to drop into the sentiment now and the analysis on the ones that we presented today. I'm just kind of curious on which ones are you interested in on Animoca. What, if you have some bags in some of these, what are they? I'd love to kind of get your feedback on where that's going. Let's jump over to the sentiment. Let me zoom out on this one right here. All right, so top sentiment in this particular group of analysis was Thetan. And Thetan came in at a 74.09 and a 73.69 on amplification. What that simply means is this project looks as though it's going to be heading upwards. And we're going to do an analysis on some of these a little bit deeper individually so we can get a full chart analysis on these. But with a quick, remember, these are 60-day CPI, so it's not like down to where you can look at a CPI and an amplification going forward. These are looking backwards in time to kind of see the credo of the project itself. D-Race, again, like I said, moving in the right direction, 71.59 and a 70.63. Alien Worlds, that's the one that I'm not sure is right. I'm going to double check those numbers on that one because I'm not sure that one's correct. Bondly, which is the one that actually has done some deals, 70.11 and then 68.59, a little softer. High Street, a little softer, I think, again, because there was some issues with what High Street has been doing, and they made some not necessarily positive news, but good news. I guess any news is good news, but a 69.23, and then trailing in is Flow with a 67.03 and a 52.33. Now, when we see a 52 or any kind of spread like that that's over what looks to be around 50, right about 15 points in between sentiment and amplification, that is not a good sign. That's a negative amp, and it usually means we're going to see downward trends in a big way on that one. So I don't know what's going on with Flow. We need to probably take a look at that one a little deeper. Kind of curious if anybody is in Flow out there right now. It's not one that we have looked at or has been on our radar, but it's in the Animoca brand portfolio. So interesting to watch. All right, so as we roll these videos out, the goal with this is to try to put parts of this together, almost like a tournament, put together groups. We'll pull together, 5 or 6 concepts and models within Animoca. We'll do a sentiment analysis, see what's trending there, and then we're going to take kind of the best of the best. So what we found in our several chapters of research, we'll take the best of the best and then do a charting model for live sentiment and amplification, which gets us back into where we would want to do an investment. So that's the thing that you need to be thinking about here. This is not one to say, hey, go out and buy these. Not that they are anyway, because we're not financial advisors, but the point is these are the ones that you should go out and start researching and taking a look at these, because as we start to flow these into our top Animoca Brands portfolio, that is the key. If Thetan and D-Race hold on to make it into the next layer, then yeah, okay, now we've got Theta and D-Race up against some others that potentially, because you can't invest in everything. And I think that's the biggest issue right now a lot of times is sometimes you can just get too, diversified. And maybe what we're finding now is many people who are commenting and talking to us is they're starting to narrow in on 2 or 3 sectors of crypto, because it has gotten very wide when you consider gaming, NFT, Metaverse, DeFi, obviously traditional altcoins, and then all the utility projects that are out there, then the blue chips. You can kind of see, you can get overwhelmed pretty quickly. Let's jump over to the questions and kind of get rolling over here on those. And Robert Salazar is got on with Blocktopia. Just so you know, Robert, we did a full rundown on Blocktopia, and Blocktopia will be in our analysis list. We did an actual sentiment on Blocktopia against some other projects, so we've done that one. It will most likely be in like the top 5 or 6 for Animoca to be able to, in terms of long-term or short-term, mid-term, and long-term investments. So don't fear, we will get back in there and take a look at that one. Game time on Gahini, which is Atari. Yes, of course, Atari. We're gonna talk about that one. We're probably gonna do a full video on Atari and get a much deeper dive on this. When we pull these groups together, remember, you saw that chart. There's got to be 60 plus projects in there that are worthy of just taking a look at. And then there's a lot of projects that are very, very early on hopefully we can do that groundwork for you guys and get you moving in the right, so you can hopefully save some time on research. But yeah, we will definitely get there. Let's go, Iber Click. I think you were talking about Hero Arena. Yes, Metaverse Play to Earn game, full game release tomorrow. They got big partners. You are correct on that one, Hero Arena. And we've talked about that before in the sense of doing something on Hero Arena. Man, the line list of stuff here that is coming in is unbelievable. All right. Mikhail Strubakis, not necessarily a topic on Animoca, but it is a good topic to bring up. Polkadot is underperforming. You are exactly right. This one is one that we should be probably visiting again because it had a nice little pump during the auctions and the parachain auctions, but what it's done since then, and also I think in general with the parachains auctions actually going on through the month of December, this should be going a lot better than it is. So this one concerns me a little bit. Definitely, Friday is bad for the market. Not interested in Fridays. I like it. Friday, but hey, get it this way, man. Fridays, you get through the market, you start to see a recovery on the weekends typically. Hey, everybody's playing whale games out there. You know how these work. You know how whale games work. Just try to swim with the whales and just don't get crushed. That's the key. All right, some more here. I like this one. Biggest thing from Animoca Brands, yes, is the Binance deal. Illuvium is in next year. Warina, also don't FOMO in when it goes to 100 USD. Thank me later. That's coming from Alaska. Great one. Great comment there. Everybody's buying the dip, I'm assuming, on Strictly 3 Sports. That's, I'm assuming, is a Bitcoin reference for sure. Second chance to double down on all that. And we've got a bunch going. All right, you are missing MetaHero. Listen, Sam, we haven't put all of the projects in here, so you're going to see more of our analysis on this. Otherwise, we'd have like a 2-hour live stream. I know that probably sounds okay to you guys, but on a Friday afternoon, maybe not so much. Cryptopolis going to hit it big with the Squad game, or I think you mean Squid Game, about to release in a few days. So yeah, that's another one that we've been watching is Cryptopolis. It was actually on our gaming project list that we did a video on top gaming tokens to watch. Was Cryptopolis was in there. Yeah, definitely. All right, Flash Crash just stopped me out of Matic. Oh man, you bopped out of Matic. Crap. That's a good thing. You guys need to check your current situation on all your different cryptos, because you may have some stop losses in there that could be triggering some things. So be very careful with these. Last one, thoughts on Nakamoto Games integrating with Polygon soon. This is one that I just heard about in terms of the news, and I don't know. I think Polygon has so much happening right now, and the opportunity with Polygon and just the number of games that are coming onto the network, their involvement with Sandbox, the rollout with NFTs and NFL. You've just got a lot of traffic on Polygon. My concern on games that are partnering with Polygon right now, some of them might get swept under the rug, and you don't get the game pop that you would, because Polygon has so much news coming out right now on it. So that's going to be a big one to watch, but I think in terms of Polygon being a big one to watch just in the gaming community. But Animoca Brands, these guys are, I feel like sometimes this is a little bit of a spray and pray mentality. And if you look at whether it's A16 or you look at Arrington Capital, some of the big players that are in the space, sometimes though they make really great moves, I also think there's a lot of fluff in the portfolio that doesn't make sense, or they're just putting money in because somebody's pulled up some 3D rendering product or element graphics and created some sort of semi gameplay, launch a website, and then they go out and try to lock in a deal with these VCs. That, or in these investment houses. That's what I feel is more of a bigger concern right now, especially in the gaming community. So those are the ones you have to watch out for, because there's a lot of scams that are out there in the gaming side of things. So be very, very careful in the gaming side of things. It is probably the most risky, other than DeFi. There's a lot happening in DeFi too, in terms of these just upstart projects. I mean, you should see the number of scams that present to us on a weekly basis. It is insane, the amount of people that will come at you on Telegram, Be careful out there. We will, by the way, we will not contact you on Telegram or any of that kind of stuff. We're going to only reach out to you on the Diamond Circle email, which you can get for free. And that's how we communicate to do airdrops of digital assets, all kinds of cool stuff in terms of, matter of fact, we just dropped an update on Avalanche, which is going to have a little bit of a dip, but we see some rising on that one. So if you're in the Diamond Circle, you would get that. Easy, free. Make sure and join us there. Of course, you can always hit me up on Twitter @Paul Barron. We'll catch you guys soon. Take care.